Hello and welcome to another video from RC Mojo. You may remember last time we managed to flip the buggy over and broke one of the dampers, which put a hold on doing anything else with the DNA. While this was a bit annoying, it's not at all uncommon if you bash buggies due to the dampers being exposed. It did, however, give us an opportunity to test out the Ansmann dampers just about every model shop stocks as a common upgrade path. So let's fit them and see how it goes. The dampers have an aluminium body and aluminium cap with a plastic end bit. They come with the usual preload spacers and, importantly, shorter ball ends. The DNA needs 75mm up front and 95mm at the back. You'll also need some screws as the stock screws are a bit short. 25mm and 12mm for the rear and 25mm for the front. The threads are all M3. You'll also need some M3 washers and nylock nuts. The broken damper has already been removed, so first we take off the other front one. The bottom screws and nuts are keepers, so put them to one side. At the top you also want to keep the plastic spacer. The screw and the ball end will be replaced. For whatever reason, out of the packet the dampers have long ends fitted, making a 75mm damper 80mm, so you need to swap to the shorter. Use some card and a pair of pliers to grip the shaft and unscrew the end. You also need to retrieve the ball as there's no spares in the packet. Then you just need to screw the shorter end of the shaft, pop the ball in and refit the spring. Fitting can be a bit tricky, requiring a bit of fettling with a file. The mount on the lower front arm sandwiches the ball ends. Great for strength, but the balls on the dampers have flanges which makes them just too big to fit. But it's only around 0.5 mm, so a few passes with a file and they're good to go. Onto the top now, you need the 25mm screw, the plastic spacer removed earlier, a 3mm washer and an M3 nylock nut. You should end up with something like this. Now just do the same to the other side and the front is done. On the rear you'll need to swap the long ends for the short ones, just as the front. At the top you'll need the 25mm screw, a 3mm washer, a M3 nylock nut and a plain M3 nut or a stack of washers to act as a spacer. You should end up with something like this. The spacer is there so the spring clears the turnbuckle, otherwise it gets a bit close. At the bottom the ball-ended screw is replaced with a 12mm screw. The same goes for the other side. Back to the front. When you unload the dampers, the spring is actually just a bit too short. So to stop it from popping off the bottom mount, I've stuck in a preload spacer to take up the slack. No problem at the rear, but it is a bit soft for the weight of the buggy. We'll need to experiment a little to get it set up. However, that's the new dampers on. They look pretty good, I think. A quick test is in order, I reckon. The DNA isn't exactly suited to the steep concrete ramps. It would be far more at home on dirt tracks, but there's nothing like an unforgiving skate park to test the strengths of a model. The new dampers do a fair job, but seem a bit soft. I'm wondering if the springs from the stock dampers would be better, as I'm sure it was a lot stiffer out of the box. Amazingly, despite my best efforts, including several head-ons with the ends of the wall, the steering servo put up with everything I threw at it, much better than expected. Might be a good idea to have a metal geared servo in reserve just in case though. Other than the dampers, the only other problem, which is shared by many other rear-wheel drive models, is due to the motor hanging way out behind the rear wheels. It tends to take quite a lot of abuse. And on concrete, that abuse is rather extreme. And not too surprisingly, the stock motor now sounds a bit second-hand after losing several fins from its cooling fan. The stock motor on our Ansmann Magnum, which similarly mounted, suffered the same fate, except the magnet cracked, locking out the motor entirely. That's it for now. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, a thumbs up would be nice, and if you want to be notified when we upload videos, hit subscribe. Thanks for watching.
Talk.